How close is the world to a full-blown energy crisis triggered by war? On Monday, Vladimir Putin warned that the ongoing US-Israeli campaign against Iran could halt oil production reliant on the Strait of Hormuz within a month. This waterway channels roughly a fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas flows, and with it effectively closed, prices have already surged past $100 per barrel, reaching levels unseen since 2022. In this video, we examine the mechanisms behind this looming crisis, the actors involved, and what it could mean for the global economy and energy markets if tensions escalate further. The stakes could not be higher. If the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked even temporarily, global oil supply chains face unprecedented stress. Economies from Europe to Asia could experience sharp energy price spikes, transportation bottlenecks, and cascading inflationary effects. Putin has made clear that Russia, the world's second-largest oil exporter and holder of the largest natural gas reserves, is ready to cooperate with European customers willing to resume long-term agreements. Yet, 4 years of sanctions following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine have curtailed European reliance on Russian fossil fuels, forcing Russia to sell at steep discounts to Asian markets. The tension between energy security, economic interests, and geopolitical leverage has never been more pronounced. Historically, the Middle East has been a fulcrum of global energy politics. The Strait of Hormuz, only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, has repeatedly been the stage for international confrontations, with tankers vulnerable to missile strikes and naval blockades. Iran's recent military engagements, in response to US and Israeli strikes, have disrupted maritime traffic, while regional powers and alliances, including NATO and the European Union, are navigating the challenge of protecting commercial shipping without becoming entangled in direct conflict. The potential for escalation is magnified by Russia's own energy calculations. With oil and gas revenues accounting for roughly a quarter of its federal budget, Moscow's willingness to exploit supply shortages underscores the strategic dimension of energy as both an economic and political weapon. Putin warned that oil production dependent on the strait risks complete cessation within a month. Storage facilities in the region are already filling with crude that cannot be transported efficiently or safely, creating a bottleneck that could further strain the global market. This scenario compounds risks not only to energy prices but also to regional stability. Europe, having reduced its dependency on Russian energy from over 40% before the Ukraine war to just 13% by 2025, faces the prospect of navigating higher prices and supply disruptions, while Asian importers might see further volatility in both crude and LNG deliveries. Recent developments show how interconnected energy and geopolitical decisions have become. G7 nations stated their readiness to take necessary measures in response to rising oil prices, though no commitment has been made to release strategic reserves. Russia, meanwhile, has already begun redirecting existing flows away from Europe in anticipation of the EU's full fossil fuel ban. This highlights a broader question. If Europe cannot secure alternative sources quickly, how will economies withstand the shock of constrained energy supply? And if the US-Israeli operations against Iran intensify, could the Strait of Hormuz remain closed for longer, pushing prices even higher and forcing global markets into unprecedented turmoil? Two what-if scenarios illustrate the stakes. First, if Iran continues retaliatory actions and the strait remains inaccessible, oil prices could double within weeks, triggering recessions in import-dependent countries, skyrocketing transportation costs, and cascading shortages of consumer goods. Second, if diplomatic interventions succeed and shipping lanes reopen swiftly, prices may stabilize, but energy security concerns will remain heightened, forcing nations to rethink reliance on single choke points and vulnerable supply chains. Both outcomes carry profound implications for policy decisions, corporate planning, and everyday consumers worldwide. The motivations of key actors are equally complex. Putin has framed the energy disruption as evidence of Western destabilization in the Middle East, positioning Russia as a reliable supplier if European partners signal cooperation. Meanwhile, the US and Israel are focused on neutralizing Iran's missile and nuclear programs, with less immediate concern for short-term energy fallout, though the consequences reverberate globally. Iran, constrained by sanctions, yet emboldened by strategic leverage over the strait, uses maritime control as a bargaining tool in a broader regional power contest. The result is a high-stakes intersection of military operations, energy flows, and economic security. Recent facts reinforce the urgency. Oil prices surged past $100 per barrel on Monday, with Brent futures reflecting supply constraints from blocked tanker routes and halted pumping. Storage in the Gulf region is near capacity, meaning that crude that cannot be exported is effectively sidelined from the market. If this continues, production cuts may extend beyond the strait's closure, affecting both OPEC and non-OPEC producers. This could strain an already tense market grappling with the lingering effects of post-pandemic demand recovery and fluctuating geopolitical alliances. The potential for escalation into broader conflict amplifies risk. Russia could use energy as a political lever, adjusting flows to Asian and European markets based on geopolitical signaling. Iran could leverage continued control of the strait to extract concessions, while the US and European powers must weigh intervention against economic fallout. This multi-layered strategic environment creates a situation in which every military or policy decision carries both direct and indirect consequences, requiring nuanced planning and foresight. As analysts consider next steps, attention must focus on market signals, military movements, and diplomatic communications. Shipping volumes through the strait, storage capacity reports, and announcements from major producers all serve as real-time indicators of supply health. Similarly, monitoring political alignment within the EU, G7 coordination, and Russian energy export patterns will reveal the effectiveness of global responses to the crisis. Any misstep could amplify price volatility and intensify geopolitical friction, while coordinated action might stabilize markets temporarily but leave structural vulnerabilities exposed. Ultimately, this episode underscores the fragility of global energy networks in times of conflict. The closure of a single maritime choke point has ramifications that ripple across continents, highlighting the need for diversified supply, strategic reserves, and responsive policymaking. It also demonstrates how regional conflicts intersect with global economic structures, forcing leaders to navigate a complex web of military, political, and market pressures. As the situation evolves, viewers should watch for three key developments: the status of tanker movements through the Strait of Hormuz, the trajectory of oil and LNG prices in response to production and storage constraints, and policy signals from major energy producers, particularly Russia, the US, and European nations. Together, these indicators will reveal whether the current crisis is a temporary disruption or the onset of a more sustained energy and economic shock. In reflection, the Iran conflict has become more than a regional military engagement. It is a test of global energy resilience, geopolitical strategy, and economic coordination. The decisions made over the coming weeks will influence not just markets, but the stability of international alliances and the broader balance of power. For viewers, understanding these dynamics is essential to anticipating how global energy security, national economies, and strategic calculations will evolve under pressure.